Today, Venezuela's opposition leader, Juan Guaido, plans to head to the Colombian border in a convoy of vehicles to receive humanitarian aid for his country. RT Sara Montes joins me with the details. Sarah, this is a very dangerous convoy as well, as obviously passions are escalating on both sides of this issue.
Scotty, Juan Guaido plans to personally bring in U.S. supplies, including food and medicine, into Venezuela, which raises concerns that this will cause even more chaos. On Wednesday, Senator Marco Rubio, who just returned from the Colombia border of San Antonio de Táchira, commented on the humanitarian aid. He told Axios they are well aware of the risks they run to their personal safety by undertaking this. But if you put yourself in their position, they really have no alternative. On Wednesday, Guaido reiterated his plans for that humanitarian aid to enter the country.
We will go to each of those posts on the 23rd of February to demand that humanitarian aid enters, to permit the saving and helping of lives in our country, and to give way for the opening of a humanitarian channel. We know it's not enough that the humanitarian aid enters. We must open the channel, no matter what.
Now, it's still unclear just how they plan to bring in that aid. Opposition figures suggested forming human chains across the Colombia border to pass aid packages from person to person. U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton issued a series of threatening tweets against Washington's opponents. Any actions by the Venezuelan military to condone or instigate violence against civilians bringing the humanitarian aid into Venezuela would not be forgotten. But it looks like Venezuela isn't the only Latin American country that the Trump administration is targeting. In a third tweet, Bolton resumed his decade-long standoff with Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega. He echoed some of Trump's words.
The twilight hour of socialism has arrived in our hemisphere, and frankly, in many, many places around the world. The days of socialism and communism are numbered not only in Venezuela, but in Nicaragua and in Cuba as well.
Last November, Bolton gave a keynote speech calling for the crumbling of what he termed the troika of tyranny. Now, he referred to Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. Like Venezuela, Nicaragua has been facing protests since last April, when protesters took to the streets demanding Ortega's resignation. The U.S. has also accused the Ortega government of multiple human rights violations, and in December of last year, Trump signed into law the NICA Act, the Nicaraguan Investment Conditionality Act. Now, this limits the country from obtaining funding from international financial institutions to stop them from providing them any loan or financial or technical assistance. Critics say this is only the first regime change of more to come.
What's happening now is that the U.S. wants to try regime change in Venezuela, and they think if they can knock off Maduro, they can then go move in and overturn the government in Nicaragua, Bolivia, and then I suppose the last, the crown jewel for them would be regime change in Cuba.
And it looks like controversial Assistant Secretary of State Elliott Abrams is back in the spotlight as Trump's special envoy overseeing policy toward Venezuela. Abrams is most famous for the Iran-Contra scandal in Nicaragua. Scotty, it may be too soon to say, but Trump's administration warnings could be following Bolton's promise, the one he made back in November when he said that Trump's White House will no longer appease dictators and despots near our shores.
Thank you, Sarah, for following this.
Hey YouTube, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this last video. We have a ton more great content just like this for you. So if you want more, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And remember, never stop questioning more.